ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Reveal Report on this Monday. I thank you for joining us. I'm your host, George Iceman. And man, what a show we have in store for you as we discuss CERN. Is it a doorway? Is CERN a portal? We're going to get into that. We've done a show similar to this in the past in discussion to portals and doorways. What does that mean? Well, you'll have to check out one of our older episodes. And CERN was a specific topic that we touched on during that show. Today, however, we are going to dive deep into the actual topic of just CERN. So I'm glad you guys are joining us. If you're new, welcome and thanks for being here. What is the Reveal Report? Hey, we talk about those things that are a little supernatural, occult in nature, esoteric, superstitious maybe. Do you believe in aliens? Do you believe in ghosts, hauntings, the paranormal, the occult? These are the type of things that we talk about, and we thank you for joining us and being a part of it. So join us, be a part of the discussion with our amazing chat, and share the information out there. We are close to 50,000 on YouTube, almost 10,000 on Telegram, about 13,000 or so on Twitter, and it's all natural growth for people that are just fascinated with these type of things, and we always bring in many guests to discuss these particular topics. Okay. I got to give some shout outs today because there's some wonderful people that help make the show happen. And two wonderful people today. I got to do a shout out to Vincent C. and Stephanie S. for being great supporters on PayPal this week. We thank you so much. Vincent C. Now, guys, if you've been watching this program, many women are so supportive of the show, and they come out heavy. They come out strong in support because they want this show on YouTube, as we are usually a Patreon show. And we've been doing it for years on YouTube, and I've, wanted to pull away from YouTube and just concentrate on my Patreon subscribers. But some of these amazing contributors want this show on and ask me to keep it on. So they send something our way to help make up for all the work and effort we put. Vincent is a guy. And usually it's women. This is a powered women show. We have so many amazing, powerful, smart women that support the show, that are guests on the show, that discuss everything and really help everybody. So today, Vincent comes out. Big shout out to Vincent, one of the guys coming in strong. So please give Vincent and, of course, the almighty Miss Stephanie S., who started this all, was the first person to support this program like this on PayPal to bring it on Fridays. Give them both a thanks, please, in the comments. That would mean so much. And send them a prayer. They could use it, I'm quite sure. Vincent C., Stephanie S., God bless you, and thank you for your PayPal this week. Guys, without further ado, let's begin by bringing my co-host and author. Please welcome Ms. Jessie Zaboter. Hey, Jess.
Hey, George. A special thanks to all those who are supporting. We appreciate it.
We do so much. It's amazing to have so many people who love this stuff and want to hear about what we have to say. So today will be a special topic here, Jess, because we're going to get into CERN in a way that we probably never hit on before. So I'm going to be curious to hear what our guest this week is. And by the way, everybody, Mr. Gary Wayne, our guest today, it was so nice of him to come on today. So nice that he has to do it twice. You know him from this amazing book. He's got this one. He's got a second one out. Gary Wayne will be back next Monday.
Yay.
So ring those bells. Put us into the thing, into your calendars, because he's back next Monday as well. We get 2 weeks of Gary Wayne. I'm so excited. Guys, he needs no introduction. He is a savant when it comes to this type of stuff. I don't know if Elon Musk has had a meeting with him that he's not telling us about, implanted a memory chip in the back of his head with all the information he's downloaded from all the many books, history and knowledge. It's incredible. He's a computer. The human biblical scholar computer. I don't know what else to say.
I think it's all just in his head, George.
Welcome to the show. How are you, Mike?
Doing very, very well. And for people who are interested, no, I don't have a photographic memory. So,
Wow.
And is there lots of things always flying around in my head? Absolutely. So it's kind of, but it's a matter of being able to access it and pull it out.
Amazing. I got to tell you, Gary, it's a pleasure, and we're going to get into it. CERN, what is it? For those who are still new to it, what's about, what's going on? Let me play a quick video clip, and we'll begin with your feedback. This is CERN, so turn up your volume and take a look.
Right here, on the border between France and Switzerland, is the biggest science experiment ever built. It's this huge tunnel, over 100 meters underground and 27 kilometers long, running under nearby homes and businesses and farms. And inside that tunnel, scientists put a long blue tube, big enough to crawl through. And inside that tube, they put 2 pipes that they keep colder and emptier than outer space. And down those pipes, they fire particles smaller than atoms, in opposite directions, pushing them faster and faster and faster until, when they're almost at the speed of light, they smash together, sending subatomic debris flying off into this massive detector. This underground particle smasher took thousands of people from over 100 different countries, $5 billion, and over 30 years to plan and build. My question was, why? Why do this? Why spend so much money and time to smash particles together in an underground tunnel? And now, why do so many people say that what we really need to do is build a bigger one?
Now they're looking at building a bigger one. So they've already got one. Now they're looking at possibly a bigger one. Let's begin with you, Gary. Thoughts on CERN? What is it by your explanation?
Well, it's one of those typical kind of organizations that are ones that there's a lot more below the surface than what they show. And so that is what's going on at CERN as well. So yes, do they do like Freemasonry? Do they do interesting, good charities, good work at the lower levels? Yes, but that all hides what they can do at the adept levels. So sort of imagine that this is an organization structured in the same MO and honoring the knowledge cult of polytheism, which is, based on illicit knowledge and trying to develop and access angelic technology. So I'll give a few points here just to give some people things to think about as to why we would want to look closer at this research and the imagery that they sort of present. So some people may not know that this is a more older organization than what people realize. And by the 1990s, it was the birthplace of the World Wide Web to use to interlink the internet and the hypertext. And the web pages as we know them today are part of that sort of hypertext media. So they were well advanced and on their way to doing things even before getting into quantum level of science and things like that, which is again something for people to learn more about. A couple other things to just quickly mention about CERN is that they have the right to speak at the UN at a general meeting and at debates. So I only know of one other organization. There may be other ones that would be at this sort of level. That would be the Knights of St. John,
Wow.
Who have status there as well. They have the right to sign resolutions and to vote on procedural matters and the right to sign signatures on working papers.
Powerful
Why a
organization.
why a science organization would have that type of success or power and access, not success, but access. So CERN was created to be a vehicle for social change. So again, that all fits in with the globalist ideology as well. And so they focus on a lot of things that the globalists are focusing on, and their technology is to bring that angelic technology sort of forth. So when we look at, without getting in too far into the minutia of it, we look at the name CERN. That's an acronym, right? And it stands for, and it comes out of French for the most part, for a council. This is in English, Council European Research Nuclear. We would probably put the nuclear before the research in English, but that's the language that it came out was France. So that's what we're told it is supposed to mean. And for the most part, it serves its purpose, but CERN is a very interesting acronym, and I don't believe they chose it by coincidence. CERN is an ancient Indo-Aryan word, spelt CERN and KERN, sometimes pronounced CERN, sometimes pronounced Kern, depending on how it's transliterated into other languages. So the Hebrew word for horn is Keren. Qeren,
Mhm.
which is, again, probably going right back to that sort of derivative. But the interesting thing is it connects with Karen and horn. It's got to do with the gods, and actually means a horn-headed god in Indo-Aryan. So now we're talking about goat gods. And that's when it starts to get crazy, when you're talking about, the pan god. And CERN was a Etruscan god, which is the Proto-Latin pantheon, for this nature goat god as well. And Cernunnos in the Druidic Empire, or the horn god Odin in the um, Norse pantheon. There are many, 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 many names for these goat gods that have this unexplained, not preoccupation, but location within the pantheon that is totally unique. Like, if you think about, why would you have a Bacchus god or an Innis god or all the other different types of goat gods that are different than the other gods and have this sort of sexual sort of activity to them, right? Um, and also associated with Azazel as being a goat god.
Wow.
That
Azazel.
Azazel, yeah. And what's interesting is that Baphomet is the god that the Knights Templar worshipped at the adept level, and as the source of the knowledge that they were receiving, that they discovered under the temple. And part of their whole organization and religions are based on, again, this ancient sort of knowledge. Baphomet means Father Mitra, and Mitra is a god that's very much associated with the Shiva god as a destroyer god, just as Azazel is. And what's interesting is Azazel is locked into the pit prison in another dimension. So just to throw that out as just sort of a uh, preface as to what we're going to get into in a little bit deeper sort of way. But I'll let Jess back in, because I'm sure she's got a lot of things that she's got to bring to the table, and then we can go anywhere you want, because
Excellent.
also the knowledge of that quantum computing and the AI and what they want to do with that.
Excellent. Jesse, your thoughts on CERN, without getting too much deep into the occult end of it yet, and what you're aware of or what they say that it is for.
Yeah, I think Gary was bringing out a bunch of important information in that. If I were to highlight just a few things, definitely I would say the focus on the global agenda and the angel technology. But bigger than all of that is their studies, their I guess what we'll call the sinking in nuclear energy. And when you're dealing with nuclear energy, they're dealing with energy that's not, I'll say it's beyond this world, you know, not just spiritual gates. You're dealing with other dimensions. You're dealing with mass amounts of energy that they do classify as nuclear energy. And, in all of that, um, my experience was that CERN was kind of like that. It was kind of like a sinking board. They wanted control of these different areas of mass amount of energy. With the spiritual gates, they want to be able to, according to the enemy's agenda, which is to usurp the throne of God. How can he do that? He needs to get all the spiritual gates open at one time. And his goal is to get his warriors through those gates all at one time. And so he needed something that would be like a switch that would open those gates all at one time and close them all at one time, up until, I'll say, this present century. What had to be done for those spiritual gates is that they open and operate off of sound, music, light, vibration. um, what they would try to do is, all around the world, coordinate ritual events, times where the veil between the spirit world and the physical world was thin, and they would try to, use, I mean, to kind of put it lightly, you basically would have mass amounts of groups of witches and warlocks meeting in different places, doing ritual worship, song, and dance in order to try to get those gates to open. And it's just too difficult to coordinate that, worldwide. for as many big gates as they want to get open at one time. So CERN became that, that force that then they could kind of set the people aside. They can still have people in areas, but the opening of the gate isn't dependent on mass groups of people all getting in sync together, having music and harmony. It's, all coming through AI electronically, through the air. Um, so we'll get into some of that as we get into the AI connections and all of that. But it really is a mass effort. And, definitely I want to talk more about the horns thing, because that, gets into a whole nother part of their agenda, which it, goes back to the scripture of, and I'm curious what Gary would think with it. Could the 10 horns, could those be, not actual people, but rather kingdoms? And could that come through CERNs, different CERNs that they have set up around the world, and they're raising up of those horns at one time? So
a lot of points here being made. I know that, Gary, you referred to the goat and the ceremony with the goat, and you put specific light on that. I found something interesting. Jesse, you talked about the ceremony with music and a ritual, and a lot of people. And I found just a few pictures. Let me show this, and feel free, whether Gary or Jesse, you want to comment on each picture. These are some of the pictures from the opening ceremony of CERN. A little bizarre. Here's one of looks like a portal and a man, demon, goat inside this portal. Then it's manifested here, but very similar to a Baphomet. So it was a goat head with horns and wings. Strange for a ceremony, for a scientific thing to do. I don't know why they would do that, but maybe it's entertainment. Another picture here is some type of angel swooping down with wings on workers. I mean, it gets more bizarre and more weird. People are dressed in goats, different style of goats that were on the ramp right there, with different styles of horns. Just a lot of weird stuff. Any comments you guys want to make on the opening ceremony of CERN before they opened it?
Well, they're honoring their gods. I mean, we know goats are goat gods, or satyrs in the Bible, and we know that they're making a relationship with angels with wings there as well. So, Azazel was originally a seraphim, and I think the goat god sort of shows up as a degraded format of Seraphim Watcher from before the flood. And so what's interesting as we look at Azazel is he is the one that is blamed as the scapegoat for all the antediluvian sins, and was locked into the pit prison in another dimension, as we talked about just a few minutes ago. And what's also interesting is on the Day of Atonement in the book of Leviticus, you have two goats that are sacrificed. The first one for the sins of Israel. The second one, we're not told, that's sent out into the wilderness as a sacrifice. And that's the Hebrew word Azazel. And I think it's for the sins of the antediluvian world, in the technology and all of the horrible things that they had brought into place that could have destroyed the world by fire, just as we're getting into this day. And CERN is located at St. Genis-Pauli, as was talked about in Switzerland, but also what's located there is an old Roman church dedicated to Apollo. And what's interesting about Apollo is it's not technically Apollyon, it's a different god, but it's part of the same set of words that Apollyon comes out of. So Pauli in Latin is Polyacom, and in Greek it's actually Apollyon. And Apollyon is, means destroyer, and Apollyon is the one who comes up out of the pit prison. Along with the other title of this angel's name that comes out, which is Abaddon, which also means destroyer. Again, you have goat, you have destroyer gods, and you have the pit prison that's at play here. So when we look at the the rituals that they do, I mean, they're looking at how do we start to marry up some of this technology to create portals, essentially, to go into other dimensions. So what are they using to do that? They have, and CERN has many other locations, not CERN, but this technology has other locations around the world where they marry up AI and quantum computing. Because if you're going to go interdimensionally, you have to use quantum science, which is rooted in the Upanishads, where you get the theology or the philosophy of what they're trying to do to understand what they're doing. And the original researchers of quantum math basically were all studying from the Vedas and the Upanishads because they said they needed that to get their heads around what they were trying to understand. And they still recommend that to this day to understand quantum computing. So it's has that other relationship. Again, I won't get in there right away. I just want to stay on the AI and the locations that they're using this. And you need quantum computing to go into another dimension. But if you're going to search for multiple things in multiple dimensions, you need AI. And that's why you have to marry that up. So instead of having a rifle shot, they want more of a machine gun approach or a shotgun approach, to use an analogy in terms of why they're marrying that up. And they also want to be able to be using smart searches, which is why you have to develop the right AI to do that kind of searches. Mm-hmm. And so when we look at this type of technology that would open up a portal into another dimension that's located above where a worship site of Apollyon was located, old Roman one, that brings to mind Pan, the Pan Temple, the gateway to Hades at Mount Hermon, that Baal went back and forth between every day, between his kingdoms of Sheol and Hades, as we would understand it, or the other world, and the physical world. So that seems to be a relationship there that they're trying to do. So Jess was talking about different horns around the world as we use that acronym CERN or CERN. And there are 10 kings of 10 empires in the end time. So these empires would be sponsored by specific gods. Maybe it's the same one, but it's plausible that they would set up not only royal capitals, but maybe 2 royal capitals in every city, because you used to have a city, for example, I'll use King Og as a biblical example for people. He was king over 2 cities. One was where he lived, and one was the religious center. So one was where he lived, where he governed, but the other one was the religious aspect. So Edrei and Ashtaroth were his 2 cities. So if you were going to have 2 Rephaim descended kings, or 2 giant kings that are going to run this empire in the end time, you would have your own throne room, and you would have your own portal, and you would have your own gods that give you that divine right to rule, which essentially comes from a group of gods from the Council of Gods at Mount Hermon, but specifically to a specifical, what I like to call a celestial mafia godfather. So yes, you could have that relationship as you get this religion coming together. That's a religion of science based in the illicit knowledge of the gods, and how that paired up with the giants to usurp the antediluvian world. So the common analogy for that, and why they use the Golden Age and the first time and the New Atlantis as part of their allegories to build this thing, is because Atlantis had 10 giant kings from the offspring of Poseidon and Cleito to create these 10 king empire that they're trying to create this world government with, and doing it by force. And that they had a central, as in Atlantis, and they had this mystical religion that was being developed, and this great technology that sort of went along with it. So again, I'll stop there and we'll let Jess in, because this is just an endless stream of things that we can talk about here. So
endless, yeah. Jess, what do you want to comment and say on that?
Yeah, it's so fascinating with all that they do. And, definitely there's the networking with the AI. Do you feel like thinking of that, like, I guess the easiest way to explain it to people and kind of how it works and operates is that there's an atmosphere that's almost like a collective consciousness would kind of be the way that would play out. Do you feel that Starlink is connected to to the AI with CERN, or do you think that's something completely separate?
I think it's part of the technology. It may not be the end technology, but you need a Starlink, and the name Starlink, star allegory for angel, so
Hmm.
angelic technology. And that if you're going to have it like the days of Noah when the gods and the giants walked among us, you're going to have that technology in play, and they would have displayed extraordinary technology. And so that Starlink is also interdimensional because the gods can go interdimensional, and
Yeah.
you would have that technology on both. If it's just the two dimensions, all of those dimensions, but there's also the other dimension of heaven that they might be able to try and sort of access and storm into heaven, like Lucifer tried to do, like Satan tried to do prehistory, as Isaiah 14 talks about. So,
Hmm.
and what we do see happening in the end time in Revelation 12. So it's interesting that not only is he doing Starlink, but he's also doing Neuralink. And if you think that he's not making technology that would be compatible with that, you should maybe take a step back and saying, why is somebody trying to create a hive mind and a Starlink that is going to have this digital technology, which you have to go interdimensional? And so the cryptocurrency aspect as well has got to be linked into this technology as well. And also with cryptocurrency, so that all the royales do not lose their wealth, it has to be um, unassailable. In other words, you can't crack the code because it's all based on digital knowledge, and so they have to block that from another dimension so that somebody couldn't go in from another dimension and access all of their wealth and make it sort of disappear and steal it. So all of those things are being worked on at the same time to get us into this chip system that the Davos crew is also working on and been working on and sort of announced its great uh, plan to roll it out as being this chip that would go in you that would provide digital medication, would have the ability to go interdimensional, would provide you unlimited knowledge. It would provide you vaccines. It would be able to link in with a modern sort of sarcophagi type of understanding as a healing machine, or the digital medical bed that they're talking about. All of this is that next level of technology that hasn't merged yet. That's going to be the mark of the beast system.
This is a lot of stuff and a lot of information. And some of you that are new are tuning in and going, this sounds crazy. And I know it's a little bit hard to grasp. It's a conversation that we're having. I have no proof of this stuff, guys. I'm hosting a show, and I can only go on what I learned from books and other people about the occult. And basically, the synopsis here is we're talking about AI, and CERN is being used in many forms to issue in different styles of AI. First, they said it wasn't a portal; it was just to create the Park article to do research.
Yeah.
Now, publicly, you guys know it's coming out that it has opened up a portal. And before we dive any deeper into it, I'm going to play a clip from a preacher who gives some very interesting context, and then we could really take it into another dimension if you'd like. So this preacher is pretty phenomenal. He has some very interesting things to say about CERN, and even reverts back to some scientists. I'm going to play this clip. It's about 2 minutes. I'll get both your feedback on it. Ladies and gentlemen, turn up your volumes and take a listen to this. Some very interesting stuff. Here it is. Take a look.
Listen carefully. These are the words of Stephen Hawking. He recently warned the reactivation in March of CERN's Large Hadron Collider could pose grave dangers to our planet. The ultimate reality. Check, we are warned. Hawking has come straight out and said the God particle, and this is what you've heard referred to time and again as the Higgs boson particle, the God particle found by CERN could destroy the universe. Now let that settle in. This man is an atheist, and he says there is no God. Yet he says that what's happening right now in CERN, Switzerland, and I'll give you what they're trying to do in a moment, what's happening at this very minute in CERN, Switzerland, has the potential to destroy the universe. This is a theoretical physicist. Now, physicists come in all kinds of sizes. Astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson has also sounded the alarm in a hypothetical manner by telling anyone who might want to blow up a planet how to do so is this CERN's attempt to do so by attempting to recreate the Big Bang within a man-made structure. This has frightened Stephen Hawking so much. Do they know that they know what they are doing? Ask yourself, how much energy is keeping it together? Neil deGrasse Tyson told co-host Eugene Merman on his Star Talk radio show, then you put more than that amount of energy into the object, it will explode. Now I think I've got your attention. I've quoted two physicists. These are scientists. These men do not agree with what's happening in CERN, Switzerland right now. There is a 17-mile long accelerator that lies 300 feet beneath the surface of the ground. This area is where France and Switzerland come together. So part of this accelerator is located in France and part of it in Switzerland. It is a joint European project. The United States of America is there as an observer, but the brain power that's going in to this experimentation originates in Europe. They are attempting to recreate what they believe happened that brought all of this into existence as being the Big Bang. Now you and I know from the book of Genesis chapter number 1 that in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. He spoke it into existence. They are finding things, and this is what's important for us to understand today. They are discovering things that they did not expect to discover as they get deeper and deeper into this experimentation and development and research and so forth. They are beginning to find out that there is a whole lot more to the creation than they had ever given thought to before.
Pastor Lawson, an incredible speaker, really gets into it, talks about how even genetic scientists are disagreeing with them, playing with this type of technology, including these doorways or portals. They're finding things. He made specific comments. They're finding things. And those pictures you saw are actual pictures of CERN, by the way, up on the screen, where we saw pictures that looked like faces, demons, aliens. Something showed up in these photos, in these things. So I would love to get both your takes. Let me first begin with Jesse. Your thoughts on what Pastor Lawson had to say in this explanation of CERN.
Yeah, I think the most fascinating thing to me is that, kind of what he's not saying. He's talking about the possible existence of something more than we can put into words. And,
Yeah.
The words that I can put to it is there's like this duality in energy. And in our human minds, we cannot fathom, that there could be a fire, a light, water, energy, the very voice or word of God that could flow in two separate directions at one time in complete unity and be stable within itself. In science, this is, it's something that's unfathomable. Yet is this very thing, the God particle, is it connected to the voice of God and their projects with the Voice of God project that, they're trying to find that thing, that which they are going to say is God. Yet in that there's a creating a form of godliness, something that they want the world to grasp onto that isn't God. And what are they declaring is that voice of God? It's that collective consciousness, that collective universal voice that is man-made, made in man's image, has absolutely nothing to do with God or the spirit of the living God, or the Son of God. It's not Christ consciousness. It's not the mind of Christ or the mind of God, nor does it operate according to the true God's divine will. So, it gets interesting when you get into what are they declaring and what really is behind all the scenes with CERN.
Gary, really quickly, your wrap, your take on
Sure.
what you saw, Pastor Lawson.
Yeah, so when we talk about this destruction of energy, he's really talking about a destruction by fire, which is reserved for the end time in 2 Peter 3. So this is a destruction that would take, you can't destroy the foundations of the earth, as we learn in the Old Testament, but you could destroy it down to the foundations, and the waters above would collapse again down to the waters below. And so when we talk about the destruction of fire, we start to connect back in connections to the worshiping of the Shiva, as they do the dances to Shiva on a lot of the videos you can see on YouTube. Shiva is a god that destroys the earth by fire and then renews the earth afterwards. Mithra does the same thing. Shiva is a god that is an avatar and goes into an avatara, just as Mithra is an avatar who has an avatara, and the Christ consciousness that's coming is receiving this avatar spirit. So Antichrist will be an avatara of some form. And again, when we start to look at these interconnections that they have, and then understand when they're talking about this God particle that they're supposedly, again, which is a cover story, I think, trying to find the nexus point where you have the creation of the universe with the Big Bang, as they would call it, with that energy. They may be trying to harness part of that, but the other part of it is they're searching for another particle.
Yes.
In another dimension. And they call it the Atma or the Atman particle. And it's an invisible particle. You can't see it as we would understand it in layman terms. In other words, you can't measure it at the quantum level. Whereas they can measure other particles at the quantum level, but they're searching for this invisible one that merges with ones you can measure. And this is the source of all knowledge in the Brahmins and the Upanishads. And this is communicated throughout all dimensions instantaneously through quantum entanglement. And this is the knowledge that they want to tap into with this technology that they're building to go interdimensionally to provide immortality and knowledge so that we can be like gods, will be the promise in the last 7 years when they start bringing this into play. And so when we look at this description of the Atman particle, I think that's the thing that they're really trying to sort of find. And it takes that interdimensional sort of technology. And I think not only do they want to get their fallen angels out from the pit prison and then be able to storm heaven, but I think they want to be able to unleash this knowledge. And this would be also known as the Brahman in the Eastern religions. And Brahman is the one who provides almost everything, and it's something called the eternal Brahman fire that is talked about in the Bhagavad Gita. And this fire of knowledge consumes all evil and good at the same time. It's that powerful. So when we're talking about some sort of knowledge and technology that we don't understand, that's going to be what it's like. And Brahma was the creator, Vishnu is the preserver of this, and Shiva is the destroyer. And this is the way of knowledge. This is the way of Cain. This is the way of of all the occult religions when they talk about the way. It's a counterfeit way to immortality through Jesus in the Bible. And so this Atma particle is something that they want to talk about in a way that they will probably morph into a mother goddess type of aspect that supplies all the knowledge, as in a Sophia goddess of the Gnostic religion that created the 12 archons. It's known also in the Eastern religions and in the New Age as the divine essence. And so when you're doing like a yoga exercise in the ritual and trying to perfect it, you're trying to get access to that divine essence. Um, this is a direct connection. And I think what they're trying to connect is because we don't have a natural hive mind, we don't have a natural direct gene to be like the gods or have that special connection with the gods as the original spurious offspring of the giants did before. I think they're trying to recreate that through the technology along with everything else that comes with it.
Now, I want to touch on a couple of quick things that are key in the broadcast here. One thing is obviously these portals. I'm fascinated with this stuff. What do we got coming? What are they trying to summon? We saw pictures. Are they aliens? Are they grays? Are they demons? Something is trying to come in 100%. And we talked about Shiva as a statue that opened up as a gift. You made mention that it is the destroyer of worlds and creator of new things. And I have a clip I'd like to share with everybody, get both your comments on. It's a ritual conducted at CERN. A guy filmed it. Some people say this might be altered. You tell me, let me share with you. Give me your thoughts. I wasn't there, so I don't know for sure. This, however, is claimed to be a witness that's seen a ritual at CERN. Take a look at this. Here it is.
What the?
Some type of mock sacrifice ritual with a girl there. Some people come out and say it's a hoax. Other people say this actually happened. Other people have, I mean, there's so many stories, you don't know what to believe. But the fact that this was done at CERN in front of the statue and they said it was a joke, I mean, what kind of a joke is this? Guys, look, we have talk about opening of portals. We have talk about demons. We have talk about aliens. We have talk about storms happening over CERN. We have talk about Shiva the Destroyer. I have to put this out there because it's perplexing to me. Now we look at the logo. Here's the logo. To me, that's very similar kind of to Google search. Google search is very similar. Here is Google search right there at the top. Also very similar to CERN. 3 6s. So we have 3 6s. We know what that means. We have Shiva Destroyer. We're doing goat rituals and ceremonies. We're opening up portals. We're talking about the Destroyer of Worlds. Guys, this sounds very dark, very demonic to me. If I didn't know anything about this and I'm just tuning into this program, this sounds strange. Why are scientists doing this? Anyone?
I think the why is in the nefarious things that are really behind it. You know, you have the Luciferian Brotherhood, you have their sovereign military order. What do they do at the end of the day? They really worship Lucifer. And I think that that's what's behind it, you know.
Wow. Gary, your thoughts on that?
Well, they're honoring their gods, number one, but number two, they want to bring back that age of gods, and so there's an agenda. I mean, science kind of is was the basis for the creation of Enochian mysticism and all the different mystical religions around the world. So it's all going to be associated with what was and what's going to be again, and that they're trying to bring about this rendezvous of destiny where they can let their gods out of the pit prison and to have this final showdown with God and use that technology to storm into heaven, as Revelation 12 talks about. This is all part of things that they need to sort of put into play. And we looked at that video of Shiva in the circle there. That is the burning halo of Shiva. It's like an orb, right? And I think we did a show on orbs.
Yeah.
And orbs are like this quantum bubble that
Power
can
and
go
energy.
interdimensionally. And so you see all of these gods in ancient times with their can be a complete figurine of a god or a goddess, or just the head, but it's the same imagery in this sort of orb. So what's also kind of interesting is Nimrod. He was trying to create a tower or a pyramid to go into heaven if God ever got out of line again and slay God. Well, you can't build with mud bricks and go interdimensionally. That it'd be a man bad to think about that. But pyramids and ziggurats and towers were thought to be technology as well, built on powerful ley lines of the occult. And now we have this discovery that's going on at CERN. I mean, not at CERN, at Egypt, with something underneath the pyramids. And we're going to learn more about what is stored underneath the pyramids. And in the Masonic legends, they have it sort of encoded in an allegory of the Enochian knowledge. In other words, the antediluvian technology. And so I think Nimrod was trying to build a technological project, and he receives this knowledge from Hermes, who discovers this knowledge at the Great Pyramid and takes it back to Nimrod, and this is the antediluvian knowledge. And so I don't think he's a madman. I think he may have been trying to deploy that technology and was an Antichrist figure before his time, because Antichrist goes into heaven, throws down some of the starry hosts in the end time in Daniel 8:10. So it's all part of the nothing is new, is under the sun sort of aspect of it. So as we look at that sort of analogy, that they are trying to build this technology of portals to do things for their agenda, and it's part of their religion because the gods had their religion that they're trying to let out and bring back. Also know that at the end of the year, before Pope Francis died, in a jubilee that's not a biblical jubilee, which in Leviticus is 50 years, this is the first 25 years of a century, he's opening up this door, and he absolutely looks like he's in fear. And we're not sure what he sees and what comes out, but he died shortly after. Now, he was of ill health as well. But this is rather odd, in the same year that Alice Bailey in 2025 said was going to be the externalization of the hierarchy and the introduction to the age of Lord Maitreya, Lord Mitra, as that incarnated Mithra into a human being, just as Vishnu incarnated into Buddha in that same sort of manner. And that this externalization of the hierarchy in layman's language is making visible the invisible, making visible the council of the gods, and all of the demonic hierarchy in a spirit form will be becoming visible, and as they work in harmony with the visible hierarchy already on the earth.
This is some incredible stuff, not to mention you just led us into our topic next Monday, for those that like to join us, the Great Pyramids. Oh, I know you're going to have fun with that there, Gary and Jesse, as we get into the Great Pyramids and Enochian magic and so forth. Would you say that could be our topic for next week, and you gave everyone a teaser?
I think you just did.
Yeah. Well, the cliffhanger. There you go.
I'll commit him.
It's phenomenal. It's a never-ending topic that we could get into. The fact is, if you're a layman and you're new and you're coming into this program and we're putting this information out there, you're seeing things that just don't make sense. If you're supposed to be a neutral world body, an organization, why are you associated with such darkness, or how we regular people might refer to as evil? If you don't know much about this stuff, you just see. Now, are they doing this on purpose to play with us? Obviously, what you guys are saying, and no, there's a plan. This is what they do. This is what they're about. This is what they're going, and you're really pushing the AI situation, which is quite scary. But let me ask you this, coming from just a person who may have read the Bible and believes in our Lord and Savior, this has to be accepted. And correct me if I'm wrong. I may not know this. This has to be accepted by God. God has to say, I will allow this to happen, whether it's on their timeline or his, but he has to approve of this. This just doesn't happen because they wish it to happen. They can wish all they want. The Lord still has to approve it and say, yes, now's the time. Or the Lord could say, no, it's not your time. It's done when I say so. Would that be correct or incorrect?
Everything happens according to God's sovereign will, you know.
Yeah, there's a time, and that has to do with the names in the book of life and everybody having that opportunity to keep their name in the book of life or have it blotted out. And there is an ordained time, and the spirits forces are always trying to bring it about before the ordained time. But until the restrainer is removed, we know it's not going to get to the point of Antichrist.
Yeah.
And so, try as they may, they won't be able to bring it to happen sooner than what is meant to be. But I would say that God permits everything to happen through free choice, but
Yes.
he does intercede to make sure everybody whose name was written in the book of life will have that opportunity to choose God or not. One last thing, and I'll leave with on this is when we talk about the CERN and this big tube accelerator that they have, that's called the Atlas experiment. Does that sound familiar? Atlas is
Yes.
the king of Atlantis. That was the 10 king empire of the antediluvian world. So it's Atlas is an antichrist archetype type of allegory, and it's kind of akin to King Arthur pulling the sword out of the stone of Excalibur to introduce the new age of Atlantis. And again, you have all sorts of other imagery that's going to be embedded into that allegory as well. But they're trying to bring this about. They want their dragon messiah to come to power, and they want to make a stand against the God of the Bible. And that probably would lead to the complete destruction of the earth by fire that likely happened once before.
Well, Gary, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to hope that that's not the case, and I'll pray to the Lord that that not be the case at this point in time. Prayer is powerful, and I believe the Lord hears us. And I believe there was a time a few years ago that I don't want to talk about where we were all going under, quite a strict amount of rules. Things were changed, but I believe just like the Jews did when they cried out for help and they ripped their clothes and fell to their knees and they came to the Lord and the Lord saved them and gave them another chance. I believe the Lord gave us human beings another chance at life. So moving from that, and prayer is key. What are some of the things that a combined positive consciousness could do to combat that? What is something that human beings, whether God is going to decide whether he wants to do it or not, but what can we do as people? Are we kinder to each other? Do we spread the word? Are we in prayer? Are we fasting? What can we do to help create more positive energy into this universe so better things happen for all of us?
I think that goes to our relationship with the Lord. And, I kind of put that into the 4 categories, be in the word, be in prayer, be in worship, and be in fellowship. And, all of that, though, there's a form of godliness, and then there's the real relationship. And you can only have that by actually spending time with the Lord, in prayer and being in the word, thinking on the word, and asking the Lord for his thoughts, for his ways, step by step, day by day. There has to be a gathering of the word every day. So that's where I would put it is, we could do all we want to do, everything that we think is good, but it's not going to go anywhere if it's not aligning with what the Lord's thoughts and wills are, because he's prepared good works in advance for us to do, And if we're not walking in those good works he's prepared, then really we're striving against the Spirit of God.
Gary, advice to everybody watching tonight.
Well, I mean, the best sort of scenario we have in terms of history biblically is with Israel and the Holy Covenant, that when the whole nation repented, everything was sort of renewed. But
Yes.
of course, that cycled through another generation or two, and you end up with that state of rebellion again. And then you have more of the curses coming in to punish them. And so, yeah, if we want to delay it, but we would need to take that to a global scale of repentance. So it'd have to be massive numbers all around the world to sort of push that out a little bit longer, I would think. So should we try? Sure.
Yes.
Is it likely to happen? No.
Never underestimate the human
Maybe.
spirit,
I mean,
Gary.
he's the God of the
But-
impossible.
He's the God of the impossible. I know you're a realist.
But do expect the adversarial forces to know this and will be part of the seduction of the universal religion. And they'll tell us to repent and convert to the true religion or be destroyed from the face of the earth.
You know, it's interesting you say that. And I'm going to go back again to something that I learned a long time ago, which is discernment. And the Lord is powerful and magical in so many ways, where when you're on the right path, I believe, and you have a relationship with God, you receive a special type of discernment to kind of source out what can be real or what not, what your gut should follow. And I believe there's a lot of amazing human beings out there who are very powerful prayer warriors. We have so many wonderful people like yourselves and others. And I believe truly that there's a lot more good energy in this planet than there is negative. And I do think, obviously, it's written that good prevails over evil. So I'm going to stick with a positive state of mind and hope the time is not yet. And we have more time to become better, to evolve as human beings spiritually and do better for those around us.
Yeah, you should not want to go through the end time. It would
Yes.
be, yeah, you just don't want to be there for it. But if it is that time, then we should prepare for it.
Yeah. Well, guys, an amazing show. After this, we're going to be doing the after show. It's a Q&A on my Patreon. You get to ask some questions to Jesse and Gary, myself, if you'd like as well. And we want you to join. The link is in the description. Before we sign off, begin with Jesse. What do you got to say to everybody watching, and how can they follow your ministry?
Yep. You got Gary on. You can follow me on kingdomlivingwithjesse.com. And on there, you'll find my courses, my books, the different workshops I have available. I have some upcoming ones, so I encourage you to check it out.
Excellent. Gary, yourself, how can they support, follow you, and help you do what you do?
Sure. So the best way to follow me or to support me is to go to my website, genesis6conspiracy.com. That's the number 6conspiracy.com. On there, I don't take donations, by the way, but if you like what I say, you want to help me, then you buy one of my books, and that's the way you do it. And there's a buy now page where you can get a signed copy, or you can link over to amazon.com, amazon.ca, or barnesandnoble.com from the buy now page. You can also link over for the Kindle editions and for the Audible editions on Amazon as well. And for people who want to know if I'm doing any more conferences this year, I have another one that's lined up for the end of October in Dallas. It's called the Truther Conference, and it's put on by actually Rob Skiba's son and his partner as well, Jake Grant. And so I've agreed to go down there, and I haven't decided what I'm going to be talking about, but that's the end of October in Dallas if people are wanting to meet me in person.
Incredible. As for me, guys, I want to thank you and show some love and respect for what you all do. A special shout out again, Vincent C., Stephanie S., just hopping on board, Linda Q., Lisa M., Linda Q., Lisa M., these four amazing people going to PayPal and showing some love to keep this show here on YouTube on a Monday. Thank you so much to all of you and to our beautiful Patreon subscribers. The Q&A after show coming up next on Patreon. Join. On behalf of Miss Jessie Zabolder, Gary Wayne, myself, George Iceman, thank you for watching, and we'll see you all next week. Good night, and God bless, everyone.